So on behalf of the Chinese Cultural Center of Greater Toronto, I would like to welcome you all to attend today's opening ceremony. Today's ceremony is a special date because the exposition is about the role of the overseas Chinese in World War II, their contribution. 歡迎各位嚟臨大多倫多中華文化中心我哋今日嘅展覽。今日展覽咧係一個好特別嘅展覽，因為佢講到關於我哋第二次世界大戰海外華人所作出嘅貢獻。The exposition will last for a week, starting from today until November the 3rd, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have photo exhibition, we have documentary, and we have special seminar. 我哋嘅展覽咧係包括3方面嘅，我哋會有圖片展覽，會有 documentary 專題片，亦都會有特別嘅講座。咁一年就7日，由今日開始。至到11月3號早上嘅10點至到下晝嘅5點鐘嘅。So we would like to invite our chairman and president of Chinese Cultural Center, Dr. Ming-Tek Zhang, to give our opening speech.
Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to welcome you all. As you know, the war is something we do not like to see, but there's always wars for whatever reason. So as this exhibition, besides telling you how the overseas Chinese had helped their mother country during the war, fighting against the Japanese invasion at the time, but I think it's also a time for us to revisit the history, to learn about history. Hopefully this sort of thing will not happen again. I think we all learn about, actually another thing is about, we all know about the Holocaust and how the Jewish people were beheaded by Germany during the war. But there's not enough talk about how the Chinese people suffered during the war. So I think we still have a lot to do here. I hope that everybody here will invite more people to come to see, not just to show, of course, the basic exhibition is to show how the overseas Chinese people had helped China during the war, but also make people to become aware that there was a war, there were millions of Chinese people suffered during the war. So the exhibition is not to extend hatred or anything, but is to review the history, and hopefully that the same mistake by whatever politicians in the future, and we hope nothing like this will happen again. So 喺呢度咧，歡迎大家嚟參加呢一個展覽。我想大家都知道中國的歷史中國在這個抗戰的時候那個受苦的那個歷史其實不是很多人知道。猶太人的歷史大家都知道他們做了什麼苦，但是中國人受的苦呢就不是很多人知道。所以我們希望借這一個機會，用一個比較溫暖的手法，讓大家看一看當時那些華人怎麼樣去幫助我們的祖國去對抗日本的侵略。但是同時也是這一個機會呢，讓他們認識，其實那個時候中國人受難受苦的 比犹太人并不缺少，但是我们中国人还是没有那一种精神去让其他人明白这个中国人受的痛苦。希望这个展览可以给大家一个机会多多来想一想历史，而且希望历史不会再重演。多谢大家。
Thank you, Dr. Zheng. And the Overseas Chinese Affairs Office of the State Council (PRC), 中华人民共和国国务院常务办公司 they lent us a lot of precious photos here, as you all can see. So thank you for your support, and we would like to invite the Deputy Consul General, Mr. 郝光凤，请郝光凤副领事替我们讲几句话。
Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, please allow me on behalf of my colleagues from the Chinese Consul General in Toronto to extend our greetings to all of you here, and also to extend our appreciation to CCCC and for the efforts to organize this exposition, to show the overseas part and their contribution in the war against the Japanese aggressors. This part of history is known to all, but that important part played by the overseas Chinese all through the whole world, including Europe, Southeast Asia, North America, they played a very important part in that part of history against Japanese aggressors. They made contributions, they made donations. I would say 3 M's: men, money, and material. So thousands upon thousands of men went back to their homeland to fight against aggressors and sacrificed their lives. And those living overseas made donations of money and materials, including, I see the helicopters, I see the Jeep, back to their homeland to fight against aggressors. As I said, one is from the Filipino, I talked with him, he said the Japanese were not invited to there, so they went there and did all those bad things to the people of Asia. Well, we are doing this, it's not only to remember that part of history. It's important to remember. It's most important, or more important for us to remember history, is for peace. We can learn the history from peace. It's a lesson for the peace in the future. I talked with a friend who was a veteran in Europe, and he fought there against the fascists for 4 or 5 years there, and when he left in Holland, he told me a story about in Holland, in the cemetery, every school child is taking care of a tomb. That part is education for the future generation to remember history. When we remember this, not for all the generation of us, it's for the younger generation, so that we'll cherish the peace we are having today, and the peace that thousands or millions of people sacrificed for this, or our forefathers who did this for us. And we should cherish it, and we should remember it, and we should keep the peace for the whole world going on. 首先呢，请允许我代表中华人民共和国驻多伦多总领馆，向大多文化中心和各位来宾呢表示敬意。尤其是向大多文化中心呢举办这样的一个华侨在海外华侨在抗日战争中的作用这样一个展览，这样一个展览是非常有意义的。它是我们要牢记前史勿忘后事之师，也就是记住那一段历史，我们来为将来的和平呢做出更多的贡献。这一段历史呢，恐怕海外华侨在抗日战争中的作用 和它的历史功绩，知道的人不一定很多。我想今天做这个展览呢，可以使我们更多的人了解到当年华侨在海外所做出的杰出贡献和做出的牺牲。他们从人到物到钱，都做出了很大的贡献，捐钱捐物，以致送子到前线，回到祖国去抗击日本侵略者。刚才呢，我和一位菲律宾来的呢，他也谈到了，他说是菲律宾呢，并没有邀请日本侵略者到菲律宾，他们就侵入他的国家，给他们国家带来了灾难。我也和刚才一位加拿大的老兵，他在欧洲呢，抗击法西斯战争当中呢，待了5、6年，他最后到荷兰的时候，他讲了一个非常有意思的故事，就是说在荷兰，每一个学生儿童都要造一块墓碑，那就是一个烈士墓碑。意思呢，就是说让年轻的一代世世代代记住历史的教训，记住战争给人类带来的危害。这样呢，使我们大家能够在未来的当中为和平做出更多的贡献。I would like to conclude my remarks by saying that we'll work all together, no matter you are living here in North America, or in China, or elsewhere, for the peace of the whole world. Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Mr. Derek Lee, MP Scarborough Rouge River, to say a few words for us.
Mr. Deputy Consul General and colleagues from the Consul General of the People's Republic of China, colleagues in elected government, Dr. Ming-Tat Chung and colleagues from the CCC, and veterans of the war. Thank you for inviting me to be here today. I'm not going to say too much. I think the exhibit will say most of what needs to be said. The period in history, many of us don't want to remember a lot about it because so many people died so cruelly, millions and millions. Never more so than in China as a result of the Japanese invasion. Those who forget or ignore their history may be destined to repeat that history. So we want to be able to remember what happened, and we want to teach it, and we want future generations to understand how these things occur. The age was one of fascist militarism, and the fascists showed up in many countries in the period, 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, including Germany, including Japan, Spain, Italy. Interestingly, it was the fascists in Spain that caused the revolt, led to the revolt where Dr. Norman Bethune left Canada to fight the fascists in Spain. And he ultimately ended up going to help in China. But it was a time when many people, individuals, felt the need to fight the fascists. And so we have here in this room now the story of many overseas Chinese who aided, helped in various ways in fighting, I'll refer to the Japanese as fascists, but in fighting the Japanese who were militarily invading and doing many other things. So I'll leave it there, and I look forward to, I actually haven't had a chance to look around at all the pictures and read all the words, but I'll try and do that before I leave. Thanks for inviting me. Congratulations to the CCC and all the partners putting on the exhibition.
And then we would like to invite Ms. Sandra Yang Rocco to give us a speech. She is the City Councillor of Vaughan.
Good afternoon, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you first of all, for inviting me here to join you for the grand opening of this historical exhibition highlighting the roles of the overseas Chinese during World War II. Looking back at our history affords us a unique opportunity to gain a better understanding of our forefathers from the Chinese community, and to utilize that knowledge in the pursuit of building bridges both within the Chinese community and with other communities in the Greater Toronto area. As well, we all know one of the objectives of the Chinese Cultural Center of Greater Toronto is to be a leader in fostering Chinese culture in an inspirational and relevant manner. It is events like this exposition that will go a long way towards promoting Chinese culture, history, and tradition to the upcoming generations. Once again, I wish to thank the organizers of today's events for the tremendous efforts in bringing to light this important aspect of our history. As well, my thanks to Dr. Ming-Pat Chung, Chairman and President of the Chinese Cultural Center, for his continued outstanding leadership and commitment to promoting Chinese culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. And I would like to invite one of our guest speakers of today's seminar, Dr. In-Sing Leung. He flew a long way from Vancouver to Toronto and give us just one speech. It's not enough. Huh? So I would like to invite Dr. Leung to give us say a few words for us. 我哋請梁顯成博士同你講幾句説話。
Honorable Consul General, Honorable MP, and also Honorable Lieutenant, and also our Chairman. It's my honor to give a speech here. And I remember in 1999 I was in Shanghai. At that time, the Canadian government sponsored a project called Anti-Corruption Project in China. And we worked together with the Chinese government and also our Lieutenant Governor, Dr. David Lam came together with us in Shanghai. And right at that time, I just went, this is the whole tradition of overseas Chinese, that we want to contribute to China. At that time, when China is facing invasion from Japan, but nowadays China becomes stronger and become more prosperous, but we want to help a little bit on anti-corruption. And when I was in Shanghai, I walked along that the bridge that's called Waitang, the foreign area in the past, that the foreign colonial power control that part of Shanghai. And I remember certain pictures about the Sino-Japanese War during 1939 and 1940, 1937, 1938. During that time, the Japanese bombed Shanghai. Thousands of people were killed at that time. And then thousands of refugees went to the foreign area. They went to Waitang. And through the pictures, I remember people living in that situation was so bad, so hard to believe that people cry and they scream during the Japanese invasion. And also, I remember also the other pictures, photographs related to the Nanjing massacre. So many Chinese people, more than 500,000 were killed during the Nanjing massacre. When I was still a boy, when I looked at that photograph, tears came from my eyes. I found that our nation has faced such kind of suffering during the war. And later I gave this photograph to the White House. When I have a chance to go to America, I have a chance to meet with some congressmen, and I gave them this kind of picture, let them know that how our people suffer during the war. And it seemed that it is an ignored Holocaust in China. People remember the Jewish people has been massacred, but very few people remember Chinese people has been massacred at the same time. And when I mention all these things happening in history, I'm not provoke hatred against Japanese, but I think there's something we need to learn from history, that a deep sense of reflection and deep sense of repentance is needed after invasion. It impressed me a lot that the German president kneeled in front of the monument of of the Jewish people to repent what they have done during the war. And nowadays, the Japanese Prime Minister still go to that shrine for memory of warrior, and the war criminal has been put into this the tablet of the warrior, and the war criminal has been put in the shrine, and that make Chinese and Korean people feel very angry about that, because we do not want to remember what happened in the past. We want to have peace, but a real sense of repentance is important after the war. If there's no repentance, how can we have peace in the future? So that kind of exhibition is very important, that to let the second generation still remember what happened in the past and learn from the past, so that we have to live in peace in the future. So it's a congratulation to the Chinese Cultural Center. Keep on doing all this good job. 亲爱的同胞们还有这句话就是日本快乐的时候才能讲的好像现在不常讲，现在我也想讲一讲。亲爱的同胞们我们在这样的会，我记得我到上海，在1999年，那时候加拿大政府跟中国政府合作做一个反腐败的研究，那时候我是推动这个工作的，那么我就到上海开会，就跟那个省独理事一起，这个也是继承一个中国人的海外华人的传统，就中国有需要的时候，我们也尽我们能力去能够做一点点那么中国发展强大了，但是腐败还是一个严重的难题，所以我们尽一点能力把加拿大一些的经验带回去。那么就在上海的时候，我就看那个外滩，看到现在很繁荣的外滩，那时候我想起过去那些难民在1937、38年日本打上海的时候，轰炸上海的时候，无数的难民跑去外滩，那个镜头那些图片还有纪录片的镜头，那些老婆婆抱着孩子跑过这个边界，希望外国人保护他们，这是多么可怕的景象。然后我也想起在南京大屠杀被一些无数中国人50万中国人给杀死那一种的图画。小的时候看到这图画，我都流泪，我都哭因为我知道我们的民族过去曾经有很大的悲哀的日子到现在了中国开始真的富强起来我们也希望中国能够做得更好，能够把这个民族带到更美好的前途。当我们讲到这些过去的历史，我们不是要说我们要恨日本人我们反而是要觉得有些东西我们要学习。最让我感动的是德国的总统跪在犹太人的碑前来悔改德国人曾做的事情，这种对自己的罪恶承认而承担，愿意洁净自己的罪的精神，实在是让我们非常敬佩。但是日本的宰相小泉还是到这个靖国神社去朝拜那些战犯，实在引起很大的韩国人跟中国人的愤怒。我们不是要恨日本人，但是我们觉得要和平的话，我们一定需要有悔改的精神。德国人的悔改精神他们的文化要这样的精神，实在让我们非常为他们感觉骄傲。人类有这种悔改精神，日本我们也期待他们有一个对他们做错的事情谢罪，而不只是表面的道歉。我们期待将来有更大的和平，更大的美好。这个和平要建基在人的深层的自我反省跟自我的悔改这样的精神上面。在我们看这样的一种的展览，这种图片实在让我们记得过去的苦难，也记得曾经很多人因为这种苦难付出牺牲的精神。我们期待将来人类能够有更多的精神，也希望中国海外华人继续继承这个对祖国贡献的精神，让中国在100多年的苦难之后能够真的站起来。 而是成为一个仁爱的、和平的民族，而不是一个威胁全世界的民族。这都是我哋为所有华人共同要努力的。谢谢大家。
Last but not the least, 最后 we would like to invite the World War II veteran, Mr. Victor Bowger, to share his experience to us. 我们最后请到第一次世界大战的军人跟我们讲几句话。Mr. Victor.
My name is Victor Bulger. I'd like to thank the organization for inviting me here, and I'd like to give my respect to all these honorable people here. Now, I was involved in World War II, and to give you the story to start off with, a week before the war, I lived in the town of Coburg, and the 4th Anti-Aircraft Battery was recruiting, and they were going to ship it to Halifax to beef up coast defense. And this was a week before the war in August 1939, with the idea of increasing the defense in Halifax. So this major from the 4th Anti-Aircraft Battery came to Coburg. I had been in the militia that year, and several of us, 10 of us, most of us were age 17. And I told my mother I was going to Kingston on a course. And the last thing she said to me, make sure you're back in time for school in September. That was in August. I got back 6 years later. Anyway, we got into Halifax and we formed the 4th Anti-Aircraft Battery. We went overseas in 1940, and we were posted shortly, or just south of south of London, and we were involved in the last few raids of the Germans bombing London. Then you will probably remember in May 1940, the British Army were forced out of France at Dunkirk. And the Army then required time to build up to fight against Germany. In the meantime, the British 8th Army were in North Africa, and first they were fighting the Italians, and then later the German Army. Now, I was transferred to the 1st Field Regiment of the 1st Canadian Division in October 1941. We continued to train in England, and then in July 1943 we joined up with the Americans and the British 8th Army on the invasion of Sicily. In September the 3rd, 1943, we jumped across into Italy, and we fought our way up through. The first heavy battle really was at Ortona, when there were very, very heavy losses. Then in the spring of 1944, we moved over onto the western front of Italy, and we were involved in the liberation of Rome. Then in August we moved back on the Adriatic side, and we continued fighting our way north in Italy. Now, in February 1945, we left Italy and moved up into Germany and rejoined the Canadian Army in Germany. Then in March of 1945, we moved into Holland to assist in the liberation of Holland, and we finished the war in Holland. Thankfully, the war was over in May 1945. Now, you've probably heard that Holland has these liberation celebrations every 5 years. They've had them for the past 20 years, and we have gone over on several of them. Now, to give you an idea, the Dutch really remember the Canadians, our involvement there, and during those 2-week celebration, they would have a light plane towing a sign saying, we will never forget you, Canada. And anyway, that was my war experience, and I returned to Canada in 1945. So I'd like to thank you very much for inviting me here.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the following. 在我们接着的这个剪彩之前，我要感谢以下的单位。The Overseas Chinese Affairs Office of the State Council (PRC), 中华人民共和国国务院常务办公室William Chen, FCYC, Mr. Stephen Steele, Miss Irene Chiu, Dr. Keith Low, Mr. Paul Ng, and Miss Ivy Lee, and of course our media friends from Bing Pao, Xing Tao, Daily News, Army 2, TorontoTv, and CTR, and also the Toronto Web TV, Joseph Lau, thank you for your coming, and also Modesty Magazine. And besides that, we also thank the World War II veteran to come over, like Madam Tong, Tong Yim Yong, Madam Chow, Zhao Yongxin, thank you for coming. So, well, actually, there are a lot of people to thank, but thanks for your presence, and CMC, Joe Chen as well. So, thank you for your coming, and I would like to call upon the chairman of the Chinese Cultural Center, Mr. Ming Tek Cheng, to come forward, yeah, for the ribbon cutting ceremony. And also, yeah, sorry, Mr. Derek Lee, Mr. Hao, Ms. Sandra Rocco, Councillor of Wong, and today's seminar speaker, Dr. Leung, Inseng Leung, and Mr. Victor Bouger, representing the World War II veteran. So, are you ready? I'm counting to 3. 1, 2, 3. Of course, we would like to thank you, Mr. Ken, Gan Garland Xin-sang. Please come forward to have a photo. Because Mr. Ken donated a very precious things from. Thank you for your contribution and your presence. Without your support, we will not be so successful. And we will arrange a light lunch downstairs. So please reserve your time to have lunch together. 我哋咧。
好。